Yo,
Hey, welcome to the new meta, episode 127.
127. When we
127.
switched that last week and we like switched roles, that felt so weird.
It was weird, wasn't it? Why did we do that?
I don't know.
Were we playing the Immortal?
Yeah,
I don't feel weird.
I didn't like it.
We were Immortaling it up.
Yeah.
So, how's the things? You got some things coming up. Been playing a lot of them. Your neck's looking a little bulkier there. Like, have you been doing neck like
My neck's
weightlifting?
jacked, bro.
Have you been lifting some weights
No,
with your neck?
I unironically, like late last week, I made this, crazy long Immortal video. And as I was doing that video, I was like, man, my neck, it really hurts. And then I went and hung out with Lindsay. And like, even just sitting on the couch, like we were just watching movies, I was like, I can't get comfortable. Like I am in so much pain. Cause all week I'd been like, kind of like this, looking down on my phone for like 10 plus hours a day playing Immortal. And, like Sunday came around, I was like, man, I genuinely like can't even like hold my neck up right now. Like it just hurts so bad. So boomer
That Immortal
confirmed.
neck, Immortal neck.
Yeah. Immortal neck. It's a condition
Immortal
I
neck.
just made up. Yeah.
You got IN. Yep.
I got the IN.
Got a serious case of IN right now.
It was bad.
Yeah.
I'm recovered now. We've been back on PC, but
Feeling better, feeling good. You go to the chiropractor and get checked out.
yeah, no. But I mean,
Should.
like if they don't have controller support, there's just no way.
Yeah, man. My biggest feedback, honestly, and this is just coming from my standpoint. I don't think this is going to be a huge. Maybe it could be, but I'm not going to play near as much if there's no controller support and they don't find a way to make it run on older devices. And I know the older devices thing is kind of maybe a hot topic, but I feel like they're limiting. If they only have this thing running on like super current tablets and phones, I think they're cutting off a huge market of their audience because there's a lot of kids out there that get their parents' hand-me-downs. I know my kids get my like my 11's gonna go to my son when I get whatever, a 13 or whatever next phone comes out.
Yeah.
And so it's just constant chain. And I know that they can't make it play on every device, but getting it to run in crappy mode on older devices, even if you give up some crazy, fidelity, I think that's okay. I think
Yeah.
people realize like, yo, I got an old phone, but the game plays. That's cool. Like if I want those super juicy graphics, I got to get something new. But controller support's huge, man. I think that's going to make or break, I think, a lot. Either they don't go crazy heavy on preventing it from playing on emulators like BlueStacks so we can play on a PC, or they give us controller support at some point. Because Razer makes some cool controllers. My stream was linking me some, is it Moga? Like, I don't even remember the exact brand, but they made some really cool controllers. I was like, those look pretty dope. So I can't remember the exact, I'm sure the YouTube comments will fill up with, I'm looking right now to see if that was it. It's called Moga. It's really weird. They look like these Xbox controllers and shit. So
Well, I know you can hook up your Xbox to your phone, but
yeah,
the game
these
just doesn't have it.
like clips. It's like a clip that goes. It's like a controller that has a clip, and your cell phone mounts in the clip, and then so your phone's like actually on the controller. It's kind of cool, kind of weird. But yeah, man, if they could add some controller support, and we've even talked about like, well, how are they going to do the aiming? Because a lot of your skills you aim with your thumb, right? And it's like, well, you just put those. There's only a handful of skills. You put those skills on your triggers, and then you can still use the right stick to aim those skills. I mean, there's ways to make it work, or just directionally, you can control your character with a thumbstick, the left stick, even to aim your character where you want. So I think it would work. I really hope that they're considering that, and I really hope that they're working on. I know this is alpha, so like maybe I'm getting ahead of myself,
Right.
but I really hope that they have like, yo, shit graphics mode for old devices. Like, click it, let me click it, So because I would much rather play it on my older iPad. So
Yeah. I hope they do something for sure.
yeah, me too. It's the only game so far that I've ever found that won't run on my iPad, but I haven't played that many, so maybe that's a more.
Yeah. And even like, I'd heard and from internal Blizzard people are like, oh yeah, the iPad mini, like that's pretty good on that one. And then looking at the iPad mini, it's like, this couldn't even like run the high FPS mode. What do you mean?
Like I have a Mini 4 and it won't run on that. So like the Mini 5 is substantially better processor. I think So like without nerding out totally, I think I looked it up the other day when we were talking about it on stream, and like my Mini 4 has an A8 processor, and I think the Mini 5 has an A12. So there's a pretty big jump in generational processors there. I think the Mini 5 is way more current, but it's, you know, it's still one generation old on the Mini. So you're really saying, if you're saying playing on a Mini, like you're saying one out of 5 different models it'll play on. So I think the Mini's the perfect size though. So if you have a Mini 5, then like you're already set, you know, and especially if they add a controller support, you know.
But yeah, let's get into some polls, right? All right, I've got some Immortal things I want to talk about. We got a lot actually. We're going to be jumping all over the place tonight because every game, you know, that we're all interested in, it's got a little bit of news, but a little bit of news. Obviously nothing crazy, you know, no big announcements. Like the last week we had the Mortal drop, and then the week before that we had the Q4 thing drop on us. So we had everything like that this week, but there's still a lot of little things. So last week we asked, this was super relevant because we talked a bit about the pay to win, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the pay to win tonight. But we asked if Diablo Immortal had a pay to play server for $24.99, where you couldn't purchase any pay to win microtransactions, would you do it? Hell yes or nope? Well, let me send it to you. What do you think? And then what do you think won?
That's such a loaded question because it makes the assumption that I'm going to play Immortal, so I think, is this a one-time purchase and then forever you're gonna get like all the stuff, like all the DLC? Is this, you know? So I'm gonna say, assuming that I'm into Immortal, I would say yes, absolutely, I would do it. But I don't think I'm going to play the game enough to justify the purchase price because I don't play on mobile devices often. Like,
well, what if they had the, you know, the mobile support or the controller support, and you could play it basically just like you were playing on PC, and you know, you're on a controller, it was comfortable. Would you? Yeah. What about that? Let's go with that in that scenario. What would you answer?
Yeah, I would. If I could play it on a PC with a controller, and I'm going to be playing the game, you know, a couple 100 hours, then yes, I would definitely do it to pay where you could not have microtransactions, microtransactions, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's any kind of power, even if it's like a small, stupid, tiny bit, that's a super big turn off to me. So,
and then if it was strictly mobile forever with no controller support or emulation, you'd say nope.
I don't care. Yeah, at that point, I don't care. You know,
yeah,
because I'm not going to invest enough time into it. I just don't play on my phone. And maybe if I got a new iPad someday, I'd be like, yo, let me check out Immortal on my new iPad that'll run it. But on my phone, it's the screen's too small. It's too uncomfortable. There's no controller support, so that's not going to change. It's always going to be small and uncomfortable. So I'm just like, man, I'd rather just play PC games. I'd rather spend the time I have gaming to play PC games because of the hardware that it's on. It's not the game's fault. It's just the hardware limitations that they're limiting it to, if that makes any sense. And that's the crazy part, is because I think the game is actually fun. If they ported it to Switch, I'd be all fucking over. I'd be like, yo, this is going to be sick. We're going to play it. I'm going to grind a couple 100 hours of it. It's going to be sick. But with it being on the small phone screen, I'm like, I already know, like, I'm not going to play 200 hours of holding my phone and staring at the tiny screen, you know? So, but controller support and on my monitor, absolutely, I would do it.
Okay.
Even controller support, I think, would probably be enough, because then I could set my phone down.
Yeah.
And then I could
stare at my monitor. Yeah.
Hardwire my phone. It's not in my hand. I don't have to hold it. I have the controller, and then I could hardwire into HDMI into my monitor, and it's 0 latency. And then, like, I'm basically turning it into a computer game at that point, or a console game. So, you know, what about you? Would you?
I would say yes, period, because like it was a somewhat enjoyable game. And if I could annihilate any type of pay to win, you know, we know the leaderboard's going to be there. And so if I ever wanted to take it seriously, I could, right? Even if I, you know, don't necessarily want to play it that much, like, it's still an option. You know what I mean? Whereas if it's got pay to win in there, I'm like, oh no, I'm not even gonna like touch the darn thing, because like, what a joke. right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would totally do it if we like saw what we saw, kind of thing. Again, a lot of this goes back to like it. Right, there's no way that Immortal probably comes out. So let's just say Immortal comes out. Yeah, I'll probably play it really hard for that week, regardless of whether or not it's like pay to win, just to like get all the Necromancer stuff and whatever. But I see like zero scenario where I'd return to the game if it were pay to win. Or if I could pay $25 and it's never pay to win, like I might actually revisit the game and stuff.
Right.
So I'll say yes.
I think that's a huge thing. And see, here's an example for me for how pay to win would ruin a game. We both like Apex Legends, right? I mean, I enjoy it. I've been playing it a little bit more lately with my son, and I just love the game, man. I'm having a good time. I can jump in, I can play. It doesn't matter how long I've been out of the game. I can still jump in and play the game and everything. But if they added a pay to win system in Apex Legends, like you can't, this is a pay gun. If you have a paid account, then this gun will drop for you, or you always get purple attachments or whatever. Like you have a power advantage in the game. I would never play it ever again. Yeah. Instantly. And like, I like the game a lot, but I would instantly be like, well, I'm done. Peace out. It was a fun ride. And so I think that's kind of going to be the problem with Immortal too, is anytime you start doing pay to cosmetic is totally cool. Pay to convenience is cool to a point. But as soon as you start introducing player power, if there's any kind of like they already said there's going to be PvP in the game, and they already said there's already leaderboards in the game.
Yeah.
So if you have either of those things and somebody can buy gear or buy equipment, like I just don't see how that works.
Yeah.
Like for me personally, I'm like, I'm out at that point. I'm like,
I agree. And the hardest piece of feedback I've ever given, I gave Blizzard. I said, if you guys are going to pay to win in this game, I honestly think you should remove the leaderboard. And I hate saying that because, I love leaderboards, obviously. It's like one of my favorite. It's the only reason I basically play D3 at this point. But I think that you're opening yourself up for a lot of memes if there's pay to win and there's competition between players. I just think it's bad. Looks bad. But yeah, I'll say hell yes. It's not split, but it's more towards the nope. It's 62% of the vote says nope, and 38% of the vote says hell yes. I was thinking about this a little bit too in like a mobile environment. I could see where like, I guess what would that look like? You know what I mean? Like, so say Diablo Immortal had two versions. One where you was $0 and one where it was on like $40. We'll just say, for example, like I feel like that'd be very confusing from like a user workflow standpoint, because you would like go to the app store, and be like, why? Okay, well, I'm going to pay this $40 version because like, oh, maybe I'll get stuff with it, right? Like maybe I'll get good rewards.
I would think you'd have to just purchase it. So I would imagine if they did that, they could do it like kind of like World of Warcraft, where you log in with your account and then it's like select your server, and like one of the servers is like, hey, if you want to play on this server, go to blizzard.or battle.net and sign in with your account, and then you purchase the server on battle.net.
Yeah.
Would I guess, but I don't see. I think if they fragment like that, that's a bad sign. I think the game's doomed if they have to fragment like that instantly, because that's already saying like, we know this is fucked up.
Yeah, right. Imagine if you play through the campaign and if like boom, you hit max level and there's a message that pops up and say, hey, you can pay $24.99 right now to never be pay to win, basically. And people would be like, what?
Your game's fucked at that point already. It's already done.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they win. This has been something we've talked about ever since we played it in 2018. Like the monetization is going to make or break this game. Blizzard's a company that wants to make money. If the game has pay to win systems, it's going to fail, or at least it's going to fail in my eyes. I'm not going to play it, right? So there could be a mobile market out there that does, though. I don't know, but and if it's free, if it has a price, if the game came out and it was like, hey, this game's $20, but there's no microtransactions, then that's going to fail too, because people aren't going to give it a chance. So I don't know how they win this unless they pay to cosmetic and pay to convenience, just like POE does. You know, like honestly, I feel like that's probably the best model is to copy what POE is doing with the pay to convenience and pay to cosmetic. But I
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
know
you
if
would think,
that
but
works in the mobile market.
yeah, well,
You know,
that's the weird thing too is like in the mobile market, you know, I obviously as a PC gamer, I think the game could be like, okay, let's break the mold here. Like let's flip the mobile market upside down on its head and be like, this is going to be the first mobile game that's good, that's not like crazy pay to win. Obviously, that's what I would want Blizzard to do. But
yeah, me too.
but at the same time, you know, like no game has ever come into the mobile market and broken the mold and been successful. So
Yeah, and the thing is Activision has the data from King Games, who is like
yeah,
Candy Crush and whatever else
right.
they make. But it's like I'm sure that the Blizzard team has access to those numbers. I'm sure that they're like, yeah, man, here's what we do. This is our, you know, I'm sure there are people that get to make decisions that are looking at King Games and going like, yo, you guys made what? You guys made $1 billion last quarter on, you know, the 99-cent
Fucking
buy
Candy Crush.
move Candy Crush thing.
Yeah.
And you know, so I don't just don't see how they win. I don't see how the game wins, man. I'm looking at this and it's like this is such a good game and it has such a core amazing foundation that it's just like I don't see how they get around this monetization problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because no matter the scenario to me that wins is follow the POE scheme, which is a PC scheme. But I don't have numbers, and then the higher ups at Activision are going to be like, "Fuck that! You're following King's monetization scheme right here. Do this," and then they're going to be like, "Okay, we got to do it." You know. So
Well, it's weird too, because like, you know, the mobile market, right? 30% automatically goes to Apple or Google,
yeah,
like, which is fucking crazy.
which is why Fortnite's Epic went at Apple and
Right.
Google and tried suing them, and I think they lost
Yeah.
that shit actually. So, I mean, they got
How
some
is that
money.
not a monopoly? Like,
I don't
what the
know.
fuck?
They got the money to go at them too, and they still lost.
Yeah.
So it's like that's the probably one of the most lucrative game companies in the market right now.
Mhm.
They said, you know what, Epic, no, get fucked. So
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's like you look at that and you're just like, man, like, is there hope for mobile? Period. Is mobile just kind of inherently evil inside there? Like, you know, join us or die kind of thing.
I think it's just different from what we're used to.
Yeah,
you know,
of
like,
course.
it's evil, but like I think I don't know, man. Is this free? I think this free to pay scenario is going to become a thing. I think it's going to creep into console games eventually, you know?
Yeah. I heard this kind of fascinating story about some like study that was done like for mobile gaming, right? If like they had a bunch of things, right, where they put into like a positive versus negative category, and they had like mobile gamers to like say whether something was positive or negative, and there was like a XP boost, like pay for XP boost, and like the mobile gamers were putting it in like the positive category, and then like it got so far as that like the researcher basically asked, like, brought his own prejudice. They're like, oh, did you mean to put that in the positive category? And then, like the mobile gamers are like, well, yeah, of course. Which is wild, right? To us PC gamers are like, what do you mean?
Admit like this is my prejudice, so I'm gonna like. Did he say that? Did he like listen? Like I was so like they didn't mean this, you know?
Right? It's crazy.
Oh man,
it's a whole different mentality to like none of us can even. Like,
I can't understand. But see, here's like, man, it's such a different thing, and like I think to me, I get an upfront seat for this because I have kids that have grown up in the microtransaction world. Like my son is 9 years old. He's been, I gave him a controller when he was 4, and he's been playing. And he grew up in the Fortnite. Like I want to spend all my allowance on Fortnite skins. And so like to him, he just got a bunch of shit for Christmas, and he got some Steam gift cards and some other things. And he found there's like some game, I don't know how he found it, but there's like this game where you're like rolling around in this truck and you get to upgrade your truck, and it's a free to play game, but it's got microtransactions. And one of the things in there was like $30 for like this super decked up truck, and it gives you all this shit, but it's basically a vehicle in a game, right? It's like, think about spending, it's like $30 for a set of wings in POE. Or it would be the same as like, let's say Diablo 4 comes out and they're like, hey man, you can have this really cool horse mount with a glowy fire head, $30. And to me, I'm like, fuck that. Like, I'm not spending $30 for a single mount, like a mount in World of Warcraft or something. Like, my mindset is so anti to do that. But a lot of people don't see that as a bad thing. And like, so for him, he's like, I know. And I sat down and I talked with him and I was like, hey man, this is your money. And when it's gone, it's gone. Are you sure this is a good choice to spend your money on? Because you could spend that $30 and you can maybe buy an entirely different game and still have the game that you're playing now, but still have this other game too. And he's like, no, I get it. And like, we had the conversation and he made the choice that he wanted the thing. And then so later on, I even asked him, do you regret the decision to buy that vehicle? And he was like, nope. And I'm just like, it's just, maybe it's because we grew up on Nintendo games.
Maybe, man.
Like you bought the game and you just had the game. And, maybe it's just us. Maybe we're just boomers. I don't know.
Yeah. That's why I think like Lost Ark will be such an interesting experience for NA. If it ever comes out to NA, right? So Lost Ark, if you guys don't know, currently, assuming it were to like just be directly ported to NA and it gets released like tomorrow. In the end game of Lost Ark, in the PvE, there's pay to win. Like you can pay to progress faster than everybody else that's playing the game. I think there's actually pay to play as well. I could be wrong on that. I think Russia was free, but I think Korea wasn't. But yeah, so
Japan was free also, but I would think it was pay to progress.
But I think Lost Ark would be one of those first games where it's like there's so many things that are really, really good that it might present that like struggle between players that are like, no, I would never like pay for anything. Or
it would to me too, though. Like, so like the thing is I enjoyed Lost Ark in Russia so much that if I could have known I wasn't going to get my credit card number stolen with the translations and shit, I probably would have bought cosmetics in Lost Ark just to support the game, because I felt like the time that I spent in Lost Ark, which wasn't crazy, but it was probably 100 hours, I guess, was super fun, and I had a great time. And I got more time out of Lost Ark than I did like God of War, for example. Like God of War took me 22 hours to beat or something like that, including the side missions I did, right? So 22 hours isn't very long time, but it was a phenomenal experience, right? It was an amazing 22 hours. Lost Ark had 60 to 100 hours of really, really good, fun gameplay for me. And so I wanted to give them some money, but I was literally, because you bought some microtransactions and then your credit card was like,
literally that actually happened
like right after. And so I'm like, man, that kind of deterred me from like, you know what, it's not worth it to get my stuff stolen. But Lost Ark was good enough, man, that it really, I think it teeters on that, like you're saying, that boundary. Like, this game is so good. Are you willing to spend a couple dollars to get stuff?
I think ultimately NA would always probably reject that, but it is an interesting thing to think about. But the reason I bring it up, and it was on the schedule to talk about anyways, is because Lost Ark does have that pay for progression a little bit, pay for advantage. It's not like as in your face as like say Immortal went through with their current scheme. Like that's really in your face. Lost Ark, it's still really in your face. Like you could buy I think you can buy gold, and then you could basically buy anything you wanted. And then there was also like you could pay like a monthly thing to get like better progress than everybody else, and then more tries, blah blah blah. So it's just like pay for progression, which again in Lost Ark I say all the time, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot by getting the pay the progression, because you're just kind of grinding. If you really enjoy the game, you're just going through the content faster than you would if you're just experiencing the game. So you're actually kind of like you're injuring your own experience.
You're burning yourself out faster for sure. It'd be like pay for extra Mythic Plus drops.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's like, if you're WoW players, you get it. It'd be like the same for Diablo, to relate it to Diablo. It'd be like playing Blizzard $10 a month to get twice as many drops from a Greater Rift.
Right.
It's just like, well, that's cool. You get loot faster, but you're also going to get your full set and be done.
Yeah.
In a week.
Yeah. So it'd be bad. But I think the big takeaway here from Lost Ark is obviously one, I hope this doesn't go forward, and that, the recent partnership with Amazon, something works out there and they make it better for NA.
That's scary, but yeah.
Right. But two is you can't take that crazy pay for progression in the PvP whatsoever. There's no leaderboard in Lost Ark in its current state. So there's nothing that you can do with that power that you can take outside of, PvE, basically. Mm-hmm. So there'd still be that like, oh, I can't, say you and I are grouping together and I decided I have $1 million, or chat's throwing a bunch of money my way and I just pay to like progress faster. And then like you and I can't group together eventually because like I'm just too strong for you. Like that. Yeah. I think that's the only scenario I could think of where I'm like, well, that feels bad. But
yeah, and that would definitely be a thing. Just because like any game, it's like as you get more powerful, it's like, if you're speeding Greater Rift 130s and I'm only doing 100s, you're like, hey, Fluff, you want to group up? You're like, well, no, like you don't contribute anything. So like, why am I going to do that?
It'd be like me paying to like force myself out of your group, basically.
Yeah. Fuck, I don't want to play with Fluff anymore. Hold on.
Pay for power.
You want to favor some power.
Yeah.
I mean, for a catch-up system, though, I don't know, man. This is something else that I struggle with because it's like, they have these battle passes and the battle pass thing is serious because this is going to be an Immortal. This is a thing that they're going to put in. Yeah. And this battle pass system, they also let you buy tier. Most battle pass systems let you buy tiers.
Yeah.
I would be super surprised if Blizzard's battle pass system doesn't
let you buy tiers. It did. Yeah, it does.
It did. Yeah, it does. So confirmed it does. So it's a thing, man. If they're going to do seasons in the game, which I imagine they would, that seasons are a thing because it resets progression and lets people spend more money.
I kind of think they won't do seasons. I didn't see any question.
They're going to do battle passes, and that's going to be tied to like a quote season. It'll be some kind of resetting thing because otherwise, there's no reason to have the battle pass.
But then they're like, they go against their own theory of like, well, we don't want to. Like, we know they're not going to be hardcore. There's not going to be the different servers for pay to win versus not pay to win. So like, they would never do like a fresh start. I feel like. Because then you're separating your player base again.
Well, they may not restart your characters at 0, but they're going to refresh the battle pass at least on a monthly. Because it doesn't make sense to have a battle pass and not reset it. That's more money they're going to get. Right. Like, oh, you got to buy the battle pass again. So every game that has a battle pass resets it every couple of months. So even if they do that, it's like, okay, so the battle pass, and you see this shit in every game. You see it in Fortnite for sure. Like if you log on. And I don't even think Ninja's a big Fortnite streamer anymore. I think he doesn't even play it. But I remember back when he did play it, a new season would drop. And on the season launch day, like the first couple seconds you log in, Ninja was already max leveled. I don't know if Epic gave it to him or if he bought it. They probably just gave it to him. But you know what I'm saying? But he didn't have to earn all the shit. He just had the shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just like, it'd be the same. It'd be like, new season in Diablo Immortal, and then you log in and let's say, let me ask this. If Blizzard was like, hey, Fluff, we're going to give you max level on the battle pass, just because you streamed the game so much, we want to work with you, blah, blah, blah. Would you be like, okay? Or would you be like, nah, like you can give me the battle pass, but I don't want any tiers. Like, what would you say?
Yeah, that's tough. I think that there has been, like I've seen, some streamers actually like do stuff like that where, in Fortnite, for example, they would buy them all the tiers so they could like showcase which each tier gave.
Yeah.
So like for me, from like an informative perspective, like, okay, like maybe I make a YouTube on like, okay, this is what you get for every tier, so for the people that are interested in that. But I would like, I would rather like earn it at the end. Like maybe I would have a separate account where like, Blizzard buys the battle pass or something like that, and then my real account would never do that. I don't know. It'd be weird for sure.
Yeah, I agree. 100%, because it's part of it's like, yeah, from a streamer perspective, you want to have the insider knowledge, like you want to have things first, so you can be like, yeah, this is how this works and this and that. But at the same time, you're like, man, I don't have anything to earn,
right?
Like, so, okay, well, that was fun season. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.
Exactly.
So yeah, that does feel bad.
Yeah, I got this question the other day, and this is like really off topic, but I get offers, obviously, to play games all the time, which I turn down for really good money. But say, this would never happen. This is completely hypothetical. But say Blizzard reached out, tomorrow, and they're like, we want you to stream Diablo 4. Oh, by the way, you can't say anything like negative or badmouth the game whatsoever. And my argument was like, that'd be weird because, if say we got to play Diablo 4 tomorrow, like say Blizzard's like, hey, Fluff, you get to play Necro tomorrow. And but you can't say anything negative. I got to think that I probably wouldn't anyways, because I'm pogging out of my mind that I'm going to play Necromancer on Diablo 4, and I'm like the first person to do it, and like there'd be so many exciting moments that like would you even have time to like sit there and be like, oh, this game's garbage? Like usually it takes like a month, like that honeymoon phase to wear off, and then you're like, oh my god,
yeah, at least a couple of weeks,
right,
until you get to the end game and you start to see how the systems are unfolding. But I get, what's the question? Would you take a sponsorship deal and not badmouth?
Right.
So I've done that before.
Oh.
So I've taken sponsorship deals, and I've actually thought the games were going to be really good, and I didn't. Okay, here's an example.
Okay.
Godfall. You played Godfall?
Yeah,
right?
I sure did.
Okay. So Godfall, I got sponsored to play Godfall. On PlayStation 5, they gave it to me. I don't think Godfall was a horrible game. I'll say that out front. But I don't think Godfall was also worth, what are they asking, $70 for it?
$60, I think.
I think on PS5 it might be $69.99.
Damn.
I'm not 100% sure, but it's a lot. And so like I didn't want to shit all over it didn't run that good on PS5. It had like these weird hitches, and there was definitely some technical issues, and the game was just okay. And so I was in a spot where I was like, man, I said how I felt. I was like, these hitches kind of suck. It'd be nice if this were smoothed out, and I would probably pick it up on PC instead of PS5, just because I bet it would run better if you had a nice PC and things like that.
What if you couldn't even say that?
I did. They probably didn't like that. You know what I mean?
But I'm saying if the opportunity is play it, you can't say anything along the negative lines.
I see it's a hard situation to be in, because if you're supporting yourself as a content creator, like you got to get money, but at the same time, it's like you got to be true to your audience too. So
yeah.
I think you have to probably decline that. It depends on the game. If it was Diablo 4 and they're like, listen, P, we're gonna let you stream Diablo 4 tomorrow, but you can't say anything bad. I don't know how you pass that up. It's Diablo 4. Like for us as Diablo content creators, it's like that's one of the biggest opportunities.
Oh yeah.
But then what's the clause? Like, can you not say anything bad ever? Can I just not say anything bad during that stream? Can I come back tomorrow and be like, yeah, man, it was really cool, but goddamn, this ability needed to,
right?
Like I don't know, man. That's a bad scenario.
Yeah. It's tough because like there's been some talk recently because we talked about last week a little bit is for the first time I've ever seen GGG do this is they sponsored streamers to like basically
promote the game.
Yeah, promote the announcement of the thing that's happening in January 7th. So like Quinn and Riker and Blood. I don't know the details of any of this, of course, because obviously I wasn't asked because I'm already a fan of Path of Exile, so they don't need me. But I mean, for that, it's seemingly a pretty easy decision because like no matter what, like even Heist, which I went on to really not like whatsoever, I still pogged out for the announcement. You know what I mean? So like if GGG was like, yo, Fluff, can you retweet this and we'll like sponsor the whatever it means, right?
We'll give you $500 if you retweet this.
I'd be like, I was gonna retweet it. Like I'm gonna retweet it anyways because it's a game that I really am excited for. Yeah, and like you're gonna get it out of me for free. So sure, like that's a sure thing. That's the easiest decision ever.
What if they knew that, like, let's say Bex watches the podcast, right? And she's like, Fluff just shit on Heist and says he ended up not liking it. So like Bex contacts you tomorrow and she's like, hey Fluff, we were thinking about working with you, but we noticed on the New Meta podcast that you said you didn't like the Heist. If we start working with you in the future, do you think you would be able to like only talk positively about POE? Thanks, Bex. Like, what do you like? How would you be like, oh my God?
I mean,
you gotta be like, sorry, I can't.
Right, of course.
I gotta be honest. Right?
I would be honest to her though, and if say that exchange ever happened, I'd be like, listen, like 90% of the things I say about Path of Exile are pretty damn positive, but things happen, right? Like things happen. Yeah. I love Diablo 3. Things happen all the time. We embrace the memes in Diablo 3. Like we're still playing it at this point. So like to say that we're never going to say anything negative is just bonkers, right? Yeah. So
it's crazy. I try to be super fair when I do say negative things about games because I realize that these companies make money. Like Immortal as an example. Like, I think personally for me, I am not a mobile gamer. I don't think I'm gonna play it very much. But then I always follow that up with, I actually had a good time when I played it, and I think it's a phenomenal mobile game. And that's not me just like, trying to like kiss ass. That's
Yeah.
a genuine feeling.
The shill child.
So yeah, the shill. I'm not shilling out here. Like, trust me, I haven't gotten a check from Blizzard. But you know, it's kind of, I don't know. It's just a weird thing. With the sponsorship stuff, man, because you got to be honest to your audience. I think that's what matters more, so
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's interesting. Totally off topic, but I thought that would be somewhat relevant to what we're talking about. And then the question I have to follow up for next week, poll number 2, is actually the topic we're going to talk about next. So I saw, obviously, this is rising up on the D3 or Reddit right now. Is would you like to see charms in D4? And so the question is, would you like to see charms in some form in D4? And I put a few options on here. 1, yes, just like it is in Diablo 2. So if you guys don't know, Diablo 2, basically a charm is something that would give you extra things like stats or an effect or a proc, but it would take up space in your inventory. So, ultimately you can only have so many charms based on how much inventory slots you had. But of course, at the cost of you wouldn't have those inventory slots anymore.
You can't loot things.
Right. Or 2, yeah, I'd like to see him, but, please spare my inventory slots. So, charms in some way, shape, or form. Or just 3, no, I don't like charms. That's it for next week.
If you made them not take up your inventory slots, you're just basically making another equipment slot.
But do you like that, or do you like that?
I don't think ultimately it matters that much. I mean, it's like a trinket slot. Like, you just call it a trinket slot. You could call it an extra amulet. I mean, you could make it whatever. I guess it depends on how crazy they get with what they put on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's just going to be plus strength and int, then like, no, I don't care. If it's going to have crazy legendary powers, like your fireball now splits into 50 fireballs when it hits a dude, then like that's pretty crazy, right? So. But at that point, they could just put those on other pieces of gear. So,
yeah, but then like that rationale. Okay, so I'm glad you said that, right? And that was so the Diablo 3 originally had the talisman system, where you would be able to slot charms into like a very special charm slot that your character would have. And they ultimately went away from it because they were just like, well, we could just like put more stats on legendaries, basically. Like,
yeah.
But I don't like that train of thought because, that's obviously you don't want to just infinitely scale item slots and have like tons and tons of things you're trying to like get best in slot for. But, reducing the amount of like gearing that you're trying to do on your character, I think that sucks. I think that charms is a good way of, more itemization, like having that talisman bag. And I don't know if it's Grim Dawn or Last Epoch. One of these games has it where you have like a 10x10 space and you can throw charms in it. And there's like some that are 3x1. There's some that are like 1x2. There's some that are, like, so you're playing Tetris.
Yeah, you're playing charm Tetris.
Yeah, in this slot. And like the bigger they are, usually the more powerful they are and blah, blah, blah. But you can stack a bunch of small ones if you want a specific thing. And I actually think that system was like pretty cool. And, give you like another item slot to chase for. So I actually kind of like it. So I don't know. It's a kind of a weird slippery slope.
I see both sides. Ultimately, I guess it's true no matter what. You're ultimately going to have a meta. There's ultimately going to be the thing where like, yeah, you need, if you're running Whirlwind, you want to have these charms, and this is the Tetris puzzle that you make with them to get them all to fit and blah blah blah. But like you're saying, if there's only 4 pieces of gear in a game, like if I'm playing a game and the game's like, oh man, this got this equipment system and blah blah blah, and I'm like, all right, cool. And I open my character screen and there's like 4 pieces of gear. That's not like, what is this shit? That's not, like I'm not gearing my character out.
Right.
This is like 4 slots, man. You got helmet, chest, pants, and boots. Like that's not a thing. So you definitely need to have a lot of slots. I don't know what the limit would be on that. Yeah. And if a charm is a slot, I'm cool with it. I guess to me, if the inventory and gearing system is right, it doesn't really matter to me if it's there or not. But the charm system, to add like a Tetrisy effect, at least ultimately a meta will emerge, but it gives you some illusion and it gives you some freedom to play around with weird combinations. So that's cool. Combinations of powers is always fun.
Yeah.
Like if I can mix and match these things and maybe it even creates something new, or they synergize. I think spell synergies are something that Diablo 4 really needs to drive home. Like it would be cool if I could cast some kind of freezing thing and freeze a dude and then hit him with another skill and it just like does something completely different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not even with just different classes. Like it's cool the class synergies, but even with yourself, it's like, oh, if I freeze him first and then I hit him with, whatever this meteor, then it's gonna shatter the freeze and do more damage or whatever. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, imagine you're in D3, right? And they still had the talisman system. Like, even though progression and item progression in D3 is so incredibly fast, it's like, it's almost instant for us that really know the game, right? Like, you and I, we're fully geared with Ancients after, like, the first weekend, right?
Right.
And then you're just augmenting, and then once you're done augmenting, it's like, well, I'm playing for, like, 1% upgrades. Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that feels incredibly bad. But, even if they had something like the talisman system, that adds, at least a little bit more time to that, rush to perfection in your itemization. So I got to think at the end of the day, it's going to be good no matter what. I obviously don't want it to take up inventory slots, but
yeah, part of the problem with Diablo 3 is that we've been doing the same thing for so long.
That's true.
Because we gear up in a weekend and then we're like, okay, I'm done because I'm geared up. But even if it took us 3 weeks or 4 weeks to gear up, I don't think it's going to change the enjoyment factor.
You don't think?
For the first, I don't think so, man. I think because we've been doing the same thing for so long, I think it's also a content drought that's making us lose interest too. And I think we're blinded by that a little bit because I think that we want to say like, oh, it's the power creep and it's the itemization and how fast we gear up. But in all reality, I think a lot of it is we've been doing the same systems for 4+ years. And that's also part of the factor. If we had new shit to do, then I don't think we would care if we were super powerful or super not powerful. Like we're doing this new activity and it's fun and it's cool, So I think it all goes together, is what I'm saying. I definitely think you're right that it does matter that we can gear up in a single weekend. But I think if you stretch that out to 4 weeks, I don't think it changes it and makes us like, oh, the season's so fun for the first 4 weeks now, because it's not. We're going to get bored.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because we have to me, the flip side, right? Where, POE doesn't really have any kind of true end game competitive aspect to other than delving. And that feels kind of bad to me. But what carries Path of Exile for me is because that it takes me so long to really put a gear spec together for a character, especially in SSF. Like that item progression lasts forever. But it's also shrouded behind the fact that I do get a new activity every 3 months.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out how to plant seeds or like how to do these heists or whatever, man.
Right.
They add so much shit to it. And I think that's kind of the thing that we're missing from Diablo is we're missing that seasonal actual content or those expansions, even if it's not seasonal. So if they could just try to keep up pace with GGG and like put out stuff in D4 on like a 3-month basis or 4-month basis, like, man, I don't know what else you could really ask for at that point if we're getting the content.
Right.
It'd be sickness. So we'll have to see. Speaking of that, I mean, well, are you gonna get into POE, more POE stuff?
This all leads into this one flows, right? Don't mess with the flow, P. Okay.
Let's get back on the.
So we're on the charms, all right? We're on the subject of charms, and one of the things that drove me kind of crazy, so I've kind of wrapped up my play with Diablo Immortal this week. I don't really plan on playing more unless they, release the Necromancer. And we'll probably check that out. But, there's just not that much to do, obviously, inside of the game. But again, this alpha was meant to be just try leveling, basically, and not playing 60 hours a day. But yeah, so one of the things that kind of drove me nuts, that kind of got under my skin, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, is, Diablo Immortal, it does have charms. It's nothing like you would think. I think that what drives me nuts is that they just reuse the word. So Diablo Immortal has runes.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, it's nothing like runes that you would think of whatsoever. And Diablo Immortal has charms. And oh, by the way, it's really nothing to do with charms as you would expect them in Diablo 2, for example. So I feel like it's kind of mean a little bit to invoke those nostalgic words, but they're literally nothing like you would expect them to be.
You think it's just a ploy to get people to play the game?
I don't know.
Like, oh, this is cool. Like, yeah, like you're saying, hit the nostalgia button and make you like it. You think it's gonna like invoke this positive memory, like, oh, I like charms.
Or maybe if you even heard like, oh yeah, Diablo Immortal has runes, and you're like, I'm a big Diablo 2 fan. Woo! You're like, I love runes. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then you get into the game, and you're like, oh, like this is just a currency. This is nothing.
Grandpa, you like Diablo 2, don't you? Did you get runes. A smartphone yet, Grandpa?
Yeah. I think it's it's not good. I don't like that play at all.
No, they just make up new terminology and reuse the old stuff, because I think that's gonna cause problems later on down the road, because Diablo 4 is gonna have runes, and you're gonna be like, oh, they got runes, and then you're gonna have people being like, oh, this isn't a rune. Like, no, this is how runes work, and they're like, not in Immortal, and like, oh, that doesn't count. Like you're just decrediting yourself at that point. You're like, we just ignore that. This is runes from D2,
right? Yeah, and so like there was that, and obviously I made the giant Immortal video, which I don't want to self-plug in a podcast, but I spent a lot of time on that guy. So if you guys are interested in Immortal, you should do it and watch it. But the other thing I didn't mention in the video that we're mentioning here now, obviously the charm system, the thing that gets under my skin, but the skill system, we talked about it briefly last week, but I kind of wanted to re-emphasize, because you and I were there, 2018 BlizzCon. And the only time that people weren't kind of like a mega lulling at Immortal was day 2.
Yeah.
And they showed the skill interaction system. They showed the wizard shooting their ice beam into a crystal, and the ice beam would, shoot all over the place. And everyone shut up. Badass. Literally everyone in the crowd like shut up and were like, oh, like that was pretty cool. Like that's so rad. And I remember like you and I, like we like looked at you like, wow, okay, like cool. Like, that's pretty fucking cool.
That's dope.
And the fact that we saw nothing else like that, like literally the same skills that did things. Is that even in the
game now?
Yeah, it's in the game, but like that.
Is it?
There's no new things. They showed us all the skill interactions basically at BlizzCon. Huh. And you and I kind of walked away from that like, oh well, they're going to turn over kind of like maybe a new and innovative leaf here, and like skills are going to be interactive with the environment, interactive with each other, maybe even interactive with other classes.
Because they even adopted more of an MMO approach with the game.
Yeah.
Like with it being open world and you bumping into people, it's kind of like, okay, this is a thing. So you should double down on the skill interactions and make you want to have people in your group.
Yep.
Like, hey, we can do these sick ass combos that I can't do by myself. Looking for member, we're gonna do this dungeon. Like I want to. So,
or not just that, but like, so you get that group interaction that you're talking about, or like me as, someone who prefers solo. Like I know I'm going into maybe a map that's a small corridor. So I'm going to run like the monk skill where I'm like kicking off the walls all the time. And like, that's really juicy in that particular zone or whatever. Like there's a best in slot skill maybe per environment. Like that's kind of new, to Diablo. And so I don't know. I think that's a big missed opportunity, and something that I was so disappointed that we didn't see anything more built on that in Diablo Immortal.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, like I said, hopefully it's just the alpha and we're going to get more. It seems unlikely, though. Yeah. I would think that this is kind of like a really strong foundation of what the game's going to end up being. But in all honesty, if they're going to double down on that, do it in D4. Like I want to see some sick. Like if they don't do it in D4, I'm going to be pretty disappointed, because I think that's even something we talked. I even straight up asked.
You literally asked that, right?
I was like, "Yeah, are you guys going to do skill interactions?"
And there's like, "What? That's a good idea."
He was. Yeah, it honestly seemed like that, didn't it? He's like, "That's a good idea." I'm like, "Oh my god." Right. So I hope so.
Yeah, me too. And then we just briefly kind of got on the leaderboard real quick on D3 just to kind of see where it's going, right? Like a quick update on what's going down. It seems like everyone's really high. Obviously, we expected that. But Necro's the only one's doing 150, and they are like, there's 4 different Necromancers on the board right now. Solo clearing 150s, which is pretty insane.
That's pretty nutty.
Yeah.
Pretty nutty.
That goes back to that conversation we've always had around like, well, if I casual player X go watch my favorite streamer Y and they're doing 150s, like my season I feel like is almost over sometimes. You know what I mean? Like,
that doesn't get to me. Like it doesn't. That I don't have that mindset. To me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but like all the people watching you that say you cleared a 150, but because you cleared a 150, and you're like, well, now what?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm kind of over it too.
I guess. Maybe. I mean, I definitely think that's a thing that happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't personally ever get to me. Like, I don't care if you jump in and you're doing 150s and I'm doing 120s. Like, it doesn't affect me personally. Like, I'm gonna do what's I'm having fun.
Sure.
But yeah, it definitely that carrot exists for people. And when somebody else eats the carrot, it's, they're like, okay, well, there's no reason to keep running. I'm out.
Right.
So,
I guess it's wild to me
Power
because
creep's nutty though. Necro, like I just rolled the new Necro on D3 yesterday, and I played him a couple hours yesterday and a couple hours today. And I mean, the power is just absolutely insane. I mean, I'm like in normal gear at 1,000 Paragon, and you're just like shitting all over 110s. It's like, okay, this is like this didn't happen in previous seasons. Like,
yeah, it is
2 hours,
really insane. Yeah. But it is wild to think about because, personally, I haven't been that guy that I'm going to go grind like 4K Paragon to, get that 150 clear. And then it's like, do those players pivot then to like, well, okay, I got that 150 now. Let's get the fastest time. Or are they, burnt out after? Like, what do you do after that? It'd be
both your retinas out because you've played like 1,000 hours in the season already. I don't even know, man.
It's weird.
I mean, I talked about this a little bit on my stream the other day because like I feel like I'm not streaming as much Diablo as I used to. And so people are like, oh man, you used to be a Diablo content creator. I'm like, I'm still a Diablo content creator. Like I'm still making YouTube videos weekly. I'm still doing a podcast weekly. I'm still streaming the game, but it's just like I still suffer from burnout just like everybody else.
Right.
And it's like if I'm making YouTube content and I'm doing a podcast and then I'm also playing the game 40 hours a week, like it's insanely burnout. And there's no new things that we're getting on a regular basis. So I these guys that are still grinding it, thousands of hours every season, my hat's off to them, man, because I can't, like, I want to not hate the game. So I'm playing it as much as I can to enjoy it. And I think that's healthy for a lot of people. I think some people get caught up in this, like, I gotta be the best. I gotta do this stuff. And it's like, they're like, P, why aren't you playing 1 million hours of Diablo this season? I'm like, just cause there's like all these new things out there to play and I'm having fun. But the cool thing is, like, when I came back and played Diablo today and yesterday, I hadn't played it in weeks, and it was fun to play it again. It was like, oh, this is actually like I'm enjoying my time here. So I think it's been good for me personally.
Yeah, it's it's bloodshed and Rax's fault, right? They just streamed the game all season, and then when us other Diablo creators are like, no, I'm not going to play all season. Are you crazy?
Yeah, it's like, what? Why do you?
Why not?
Okay, you're not a real creator,
right?
Wait, hold on.
It's their fault.
I'm still doing it. Relax.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You played a bunch of Wolcen recently.
Yeah, that's true.
And I know we talked about it. So what have you been doing in Wolcen? Just kind of give me the Wolcen update.
Yeah. So the Wolcen update. So Wolcen came out with basically its first season ever. It's called Blood Trail, and we kind of started it to play it, and then we got pulled into the Immortal Alpha, kind of out of the blue. And so now I've gone back, and there is the hunt, which is like a new thing. It's kind of like, I would compare it a lot to like an Abyss, inside of Path of Exile. You're doing like a map, and there's this thing that happens sometimes, and you just kind of follow the trail, and then basically you like find a pile of bones, like maybe the guy that you're hunting ate something, right? And you're like, oh, you examine the pile of bones, and when you examine the pile of bones, it gives a modifier to either the boss or like some encounter will spawn, and you have to defeat the encounter or whatever. Gives you some reward, which is it's not a bad idea. It's more things, and with that, probably the best thing is they've kind of added like a new item type to the game. It only comes from the hunt and the hunt stuff, which is like an item will have a bunch of stats on it, and there's negative stats on it as well. So like you can get something that's like hits really well and gives you negative modifier on something you don't care about. That's kind of the dream. Yeah. So like itemization, I never had a problem with itemization. I actually quite like itemization in Wolcen and how they do the crafting and the whole end game city setup and how you can convert items to legendaries, and there's an RNG associated with that. I think that actually it's okay. It's a good, kind of ground zero to build a game on. And so I think they've done well with the idea of this blood trail. But as I continue to play, like yesterday we encountered like 5 or 6 kind of, game breaking bugs. And they just can't seem to get themselves out of this like meme of being this incredibly buggy game. I crashed 2 or 3 times. So there is that, and before when I played in vanilla, the most of the bugs that happened to me were when I hit the tippy top of the end game. So like I hadn't even gotten there yet again. So I don't even know what that's going to be like. So it could be even worse still. Right. But I plan on getting there. It is.
You're gonna DAT mods it?
We're about 30% DAT mods, And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, DAT mods has this ability to like test a game or play a game and like go just full ham, and just
DAT mods can like grind a game that's unfun. Is basically like if it's an unfun game, DAT mods has this ability to just continuously grind it until he's exhausted.
Right.
The life out of the game.
But he knows all the things, right? And
most people would just quit, and DAT mods is like, I'm here, baby. This. We're doing it. So we call it DAT mods in a game. Right. It's a kind of a thing between Fluff and I. It's pretty funny, but
I enjoy the build I put together, and like I'm doing poison, and like that always feels good, and like I've got the God of War blades, that I'm like shooting out from my arms or whatever you call those things. I'm sure there's a name for it. So like, I like the build. I like the game. Looks good graphically. It's probably one of the better looking ARPGs out there. But the crashes are just, obviously they get under my skin because there's a lot of history there. Obviously with Wilson being really buggy.
Oh, crashes in general suck. They don't happen often, but like, not this, I don't think it was Heist or Harvest. Maybe it was Legion when I played POE and it crashed on me. They had a rough launch the first couple of days. It crashed on me a few times.
Yeah.
And that really sucks to like be in the middle of an area or a thing and it crashed. And then Wilson a little bit like, Diablo started doing it with its latest patches. And that's just, when you desktop crash, it's like, come on, dude. Like really?
Right. That's the best thing you could say about Immortal. In my like 60 hours, not one single crash. None.
I didn't even encounter hardly any bugs in Immortal. Did you have any like bugs? Like, I had some issue with my skills on my mage, like shooting out of. It just felt kind of like a desync, like where I thought I was standing somewhere I wasn't.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't remember too much going crazy. So
there's some bugs. Like if you were close to beating the challenge of time. But it was within like seconds, but you went over by like a second, it would like kick you off the leaderboard completely.
Oh, wow.
So that was
it's like, oh, nah, get out of here.
Then you had to like not only refish like your previous clear, but then like go for what you were trying to go for again. Yeah.
Yeah. So that does suck.
Awful. But they've been really fast on some of the things I've like pointed out. There's one ability where it was ground stomp. And if I charged it up, it would lag out my game, like unplayable lag out my game. Like, and that's what the legendary effect is. Like you can now charge ground stomp and it hits everything around you. And so I would like charge it up and run into a pack, but then it'd be like, like I couldn't do anything whatsoever.
It's just that old iPhone 11 Pro, man. You need to upgrade. Sure. You need to upgrade that phone. You know what? The DI is working with Apple. Maybe they got like this, or no, Samsung, right? They got this Samsung sponsorship where they're like, hey,
maybe, man.
Plays best on whatever the hell the new Samsung phone is. Yeah.
But as soon as I posted that in like the Discord for bugs, it was like it's fixed within a few hours, basically. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So they were on that shit.
They were on that. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. So we circled back. We started off talking about all these things, and then we're circling back, I think, to POE.
Yes.
Stuff.
Path of Exile. So, obviously there's some things happening. We talked about it a little bit earlier where, they're actually, sponsoring some streamers to kind of retweet that this January 7th thing is happening, which, I'm excited for regardless. It's going to be the announcement of the new things. I always get super hyped for Path of Exile announcement of the new stuff. So that's coming the 7th. We had some confirmation on Reddit that the patch notes will be the 13th. So what day is that? It's probably a Tuesday.
9th is
Wednesday.
my birthday. That's a Saturday. So
And the 7th is the announcements. That'll be a Thursday.
Uh-huh.
And the 13th is the actual patch notes. That's a Wednesday.
So then it's going to drop on the 15th then, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
2 days after. That's usually the way they do it.
Yeah, usually, yeah.
So
but the interesting thing that I pulled, and the reason we're talking about it is
season 23 launch date?
No.
January 15th? Oh, wait. Okay.
Is that they said we are expecting Heist to become a core part of Path of Exile content. But we would recommend waiting until the 3.13 announcement on January 7th to find out the, in quotations, relatively low number of changes it will receive for its core implementation. So it's coming to core, which
Your favorite
was
mode?
a fear of mine.
Yeah.
Because it's super not fun. But to kind of drive it home, they're like, well, we're not going to change it that much, but it's going to still go core. So
You think there's going to make it like completely optional? Anything that would be of use in there, you can get other places?
I guess that might be Path of Exile's eventual goal, is that they'll have so many like seasonal themes that are rolled over in the core that you'll be like, I don't want to do Heist at all, and so I can just completely ignore it or whatever. But there's probably still
there
always
are things that come from it though that you need, right?
maybe
That you can
maybe
only
not.
get from Heist.
There's replicas, but I don't know if you can like plan a build around guaranteeing to get a replica. I don't know. You probably just play the market if you're a trade league or whatever. But I think that's kind of weird too, because if you're someone that plays a lot, you're probably gonna do all the things to be like super efficient with all of your time. So you're probably still gonna be forced into playing it in some way. I don't know. But I guess we'll just see. Well, I mean, I'm just raising like alarms because to me it's like, please no.
I feel like Heist was their big money shot though, and I feel like it kind of fell flat. Like I felt like they even said in Harvest the next expansion is going to be a big one, and blah blah blah. And then so I'm kind of curious as to what this next announcement's going to be. Like, they're going to have some really cool thing, or is it just going to kind of be like here's a little mini baby season? Because that's usually what they do: baby season, big season, baby season. So this is due for a baby season.
Yep.
But it's GGG, and every time I read their patch notes, I'm always like, God damn, that's a lot of stuff. So.
Yeah, but you also bring up a good point. Is the dates, we were kind of getting to a point where they were staggered a little bit. Like I think we had like 2 or 3 weeks between POE start and Diablo this time. But now, we had that update from Chris Wilson where he's like, we're fucked if we launch at the same time as Cyberpunk. Yeah. So now they could be lining up again, or hopefully it means they're more staggered. We don't really know until we hear something from obviously Blizz regarding season 23.
Well, if they drop it on the 15th,
it's unlikely that they'll line up.
The Diablo season started when? November 20 something.
It's like the weekend before Thanksgiving.
It was the weekend before WoW. Yeah. So WoW dropped on like the 23rd, I think.
Yeah, like the 19th, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds about right. So if we go back to November.
Yeah,
I would think.
Wait,
was it 22?
No, that can't be right.
It's a Friday. It was the 20th. Yeah. It had to have been the 20th. Yeah. So if it dropped on the 20th, and so that's December. So February 20th-ish is roughly 3 months. So if they stick to their 3-month schedule, which seems unlikely, but it'd probably more be like March, early March.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. So that should space out. I mean, even if the Diablo Heist starts mid-January, that gives you a month and a half.
You know what I just realized though, as we were kind of talking, is this post has 183 downvotes. Is it we're going to add Heist?
Oh, because of the thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Is it negative?
I mean, I know a lot of people did not like Heist. A lot of people. So, it's negative 183.
Wow. That's interesting, man. That's a thing. I don't know.
It feels bad because like it's obvious they spent so much time on this league, and to not have it in some way, shape, or form. But I guess it's just that context of like, we're not going to change it that much, and it's going to go core. Like it needs to change.
Maybe they should add a poll in game. Is what they should do. They should put a thing when you log in, and they should say, hey, like, how do you enjoy Heist? On a scale of 1 to 5, what do you rate it? Would you like to see this come? And then the next question, do you want to see this carried over? Yes or no?
Right. But there's a lot of players. Go ahead.
If you poll Reddit, you're going to get the squeaky wheels.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But there's also a lot of people that would advocate, and I'm curious your opinion on this. There's a lot of people that advocate that, like listening to the community too much
isn't a good thing. Yeah.
Is a bad thing. Like a lot of players that play Path of Exile would say that, like, Diablo 3's historic problem is they listen to the community too much, and now it's a shit game.
Yeah, like we don't know. Like there's been changes that I think that I've wanted in games, and they turned out to be pretty shitty. You know.
Can you think of any?
I think when they okay, so this goes back to there was a weekend in Diablo 3 where they gave us double drop rate. There was some kind of seasonal event and they gave us double drop rate, and then that double drop rate never went away. They said this is a permanent change. Do you remember this? It was like season 3 or 4 or something. It was it was so long ago.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, like legendary drop rate.
Yeah.
There was it was really shitty, and then there was like a weekend. And they said like, or a weekend or a weekly event or some kind of anniversary maybe or something, Diablo anniversary. And they said for, we've doubled the drop rate of legendaries. And I remember specifically logging in with my buddies and being like, yo, we're grinding our ass off this weekend. And then later on they said, hey, guess what? The double drop rate's sticking around, and it never went away. Like it was just a thing at that point. This was super early in Reaper of Souls. And at the time I'm like, yeah, this is amazing. But now I'm like, the drop rate's too high. We need to tone it down. So, and that's just an example of it. I'm trying to think of other things where I've been like, this is amazing. This is so awesome. But I don't know. I definitely think that the community thinks they know what's best for a game, and a lot of times don't. And myself included. There's times where I'm like, man, I think this is what they should do, but what do I like? Here's another example. I think that a season of famine of like 2,000 Paragon cap and lower drop rates would be good. I think that would be good for the game, right? A Paragon cap and lower drop rates. If we did a season of it, that would be the telltale though. Like if we did a season and we got to play it, that could end up sucking. It could be a horrible season. We could be like, this sucks. Like this is a bad idea, but I personally think it would be good,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's the thing with seasonal themes though. To me, it's like, it's got nothing to lose, because in 3 months you're basically guaranteeing like, oh, we like this and we're going to keep it, or it's going away.
Yeah.
So that's like a really good time to just like trial things. It's like a free PTR almost.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
I'm with you on that. But yeah, I do think that as a community, people probably don't know. That's not saying that we don't have good suggestions.
That's
sometimes
true too. Halo. You look at Halo 5, right? That's the example I always go to. So Halo 5, they had that mentality from the get-go. They had a pro team on staff made up of guys, that were Halo 2, Halo 3 pros, helping them kind of like drive the game basically and make it, as competitive and, fair and blah, blah, blah as they possibly could. And I think the Halo 5 was the best iteration we've seen since like, maybe even Halo 1. I loved Halo 5 like with a passion, but it just didn't kick off at all. And so I don't know, like obviously to me, when I think of Diablo, I think like, oh, okay, well, go to your guys, right? Like go to the people to grind your game and know your game inside and out. But then at the same time, it's like, well, do we actually know anything? You know what I mean? Like we think we know.
But then you might only have 10 guys playing your game.
Right.
Like, is the problem. It's like, because you got those 10 guys and they're like, hey, if you're as hardcore as me, these are the things you want.
Yeah.
And then you do it for those guys, and then everybody else is like, this sucks, man. Like it's like, if you ask me what, I don't give a rat's ass about Witch Doctor in Diablo 3. So if you're asking to make changes or anything, I'm like, yeah, get rid of that Witch Doctor class. We don't need that. Let's focus on something else. And then all those Witch Doctor players are going to be like, what? P? No. Like,
right.
So yeah, I'm with you. What else did we have? So I watched a movie this week. Do we want to talk? Should we? It's been pretty recent. It's only been a couple days. We should probably be spoiler friendly,
of course,
on this.
When have we ever spoiled anything?
I don't think we have.
Yeah.
But we watched. Do you even think giving our opinion on it is spoiler-ish? Because it could.
No, it's like reading a Rotten Tomatoes score before you go to see. Like a lot of people do it.
Okay. So I watched Wonder Woman 1984. Christmas Day. I was excited for this, man. I really was. I was genuinely like, listen, I haven't been to the movies in forever. I didn't go to the movies. I actually, watched it at home on HBO. But But it was a good movie. I was excited. Christmas Day, at evening came, sun went down, boom. Wife and I hopped in, we started watching it. Genuinely excited. About 15 to 20 minutes into the movie, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is so slow. This is so bad that I can't believe. Like, I knew within the first 15 minutes that the movie was going to be booty.
I knew the first 5 minutes. That whole intro was so fucking cringe. But
that was the best part of the movie, though.
That was so cringe.
It was cringe. The best part of the movie, though.
It's so gimmicky.
What was better? What was better, dude?
I mean, nothing was better, but I knew in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
That's my point. The first 5 minutes is the best part.
I mean, honestly, the best part of the whole movie is just like the Chris Pine character and like discovering the 80s, which is you can know from the previews. But
yeah, but no,
that's the best part of the movie.
That was like the worst part of the movie too, though.
Is that whole how that drug out?
Oh my god, I wish I could just talk about it.
I know, I get it.
I could fucking rip this movie to shreds. And it's like, and people are saying like, I've seen things where people are like, this is the best superhero movie I've seen. And I'm like, no, like I could sit here and point out like plot holes and things that are just so stupid and written awful. Just for
that's the thing too. It was literally what you said. Like, it's the writing. I think from a casting perspective, they did great. Like, I think that everyone did a good job. It was just like such a bad movie. You just feel bad for everybody.
Yeah, man. There's like instant teleportation and like just things that you're just like, what? Like, this doesn't. Oh my!
I mean, the whole premise alone was silly. But.
There are things.
Is this Aladdin? Like what am I watching?
I want to revisit this so much, and like, dude? This is coming back on the schedule because I'm gonna write down my notes in this schedule of things that I hated about this. What's the grace period for when we can talk about these?
A couple months, probably.
Like 2 months. I don't know, man. But yeah. So that being said, like, it was a watchable movie. Like, I'm pretty upset about it now just because I had high expectations. It was a watchable movie. I would be a little more upset if I paid money to go to the movie theater to see it. But if you have HBO Max or whatever, way to watch it at home, then you can watch it at home and it's probably okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I was disappointed. It was definitely not near as good as the first one. So
yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily care for the first one. I've always thought, Gal Gadot, whatever.
Gadot.
Great cast.
Yeah.
Obviously.
She's like, 10 out of 10, dude.
But I didn't really care for the first one.
I don't even, I actually thought this in the second movie. I'm like, I don't even know if she can act very well because she doesn't really speak in the movie. Like, did you notice that? She doesn't really talk that much. Like, if you sit there,
quite a bit.
No, not for real. Like, she's just like, I don't know, man. It was pretty always like monotone and kind of back. And I'm not knocking her. I'm sure she can act very well, but I think she's just like super hot, and you're just like, okay.
It's not even that she's super hot. That's not why I'm saying she's a great cast. It's just like she.
No. I know
idea.
that.
Okay.
I know she looks like Wonder Woman and stuff. Like, I get it.
Believable.
But I'm just sitting here thinking like, dude, I don't even think that they gave her like any chance to really put her acting skills on display here. Sure. It's like, she's so, I don't know. Anyways, Wonder Woman 84. You guys should go. You should go see it.
If you can see it for free, you should go see it.
Yeah. So, okay.
If you can leech someone's HBO Max, watch it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if you can leech their Max, do it. If Wonder Woman 84, they reach out to you and they send you a DM on Twitter and they're like, Fluff, listen, we're going to pay you $5,000 if you retweet our tweet saying that Wonder Woman 84 is a perfect 10 out of 10 movie of the year, whatever tweet. And all you got to do is retweet it and maybe say like something like, go watch this movie.
Just a tweet? Not have to stream it for an hour and a half or 2 hours.
No, you're just retweeting it. But you can't say anything negative about the movie ever again, which is easy. You just don't ever talk about it.
Don't talk about it.
Right?
And just a tweet. It's tough. I don't care about the social media as much as the stream.
Don't you lie to me. You would definitely retweet it. You would do it, dude.
No.
Okay, so after you retweet it, because I know you would, you $5,000, you're like, I'm going to P. We're going to Madagascar on a motorcycle trip. You better fucking do it. And then we're going on a motorcycle trip. So you hit me up. You're like, yo, Wonder Woman just paid for a Madagascar trip. And somebody comes back in your stream the next day and they're like, Fluff, I saw your tweet and I went and watched it, and the movie was fucking horrible. Like, what's your response? Well, how are you getting out of that?
I don't know. I don't know. How do you, right? And that's maybe some of the reason I don't do it.
Yeah.
Right?
You're just like,
I'm just like, well,
I don't know.
I loved it. Sorry.
Like, you just go, man, Gal Gadot, she sure is pretty, isn't she?
Yeah.
So,
Kristen Wiig sure is funny.
Yep. I guess that's it, man. You wanna talk about some Fluff hates, some PChild loves? I got some loves.
Okay, go. So
I'm a big VR fan. Have you ever experienced a VR setup? Have you played VR before? Like on an actual, like, a Rift or a Hive or like an actual VR setup?
I've gone to
PSVR.
2 VR places, like places that specialize in it. I did a Star Wars one near Disney. That was actually pretty darn cool. But mostly because it was Star Wars and it was like cool, like immersive kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I did another one that's like high tech here in Kansas City with like some of my gamer friends before I stopped having friends IRL.
Yeah.
And
who had friends IRL?
I don't know anymore. And it was just so damn easy, I guess, and that it kind of ruined it. It was like we were basically holding down like a fort while zombies came after us, and we were there for like an hour. Like nothing could even, because we were all gamers,
like,
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, nothing can mess with you. Yeah.
I got bored.
So I have a Rift. I have a OG original Rift, and I like it a lot, man. I've actually enjoyed it. I don't play it as much just because like the ecosystem again is like a newer ecosystem, and I feel like it's a lot of like non AAA games that want to get like AAA money. Like, a game's $40, $50, and it's like, a 2 or 3 hour game. And I'm, to me, it's just like, damn, this is insane. Like so, but I do like it. There's a couple games that I've played. I definitely think it's like the future of gaming at some point. Like at some point, we're gonna like have VR shit that we put on to play games. Like Ready Player One is gonna be a thing. Have you seen Ready Player One?
Yeah, awful.
You didn't like it? I thought it was fun.
I read the book.
Movie.
So.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I don't know. You read books?
Sometimes. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody.
Don't you lie.
Don't ruin my reputation.
Don't you lie to me. So I have a Rift. I have a PlayStation VR, and so for Christmas, I got my daughter a Quest 2, which is the newest, Oculus portable headset. And so my thought process is like, this thing's all enclosed VR set. There's no way it's going to be as good as my Rift, which has my computer powering it and blah blah blah. This is, it's not going to be good. I am absolutely amazed at the generational leaps from my Rift to the Quest 2. The Quest 2 also can just hook up with a USB-C cable to your PC and use your PC to play all the same games I play on the Rift, but it's got a more vibrant display. It's got less screen door effect. It's got like everything about it is better in every single way. Tracking, controller motions. I honestly, man, it's like what the VR experience I feel like should have been at first. Like, this is what my Rift should have felt like when I first got it. It was pretty fucking cool, and I'm super impressed with the Quest. So that gives me excitement for the future of VR gaming. I think that it's going to be a thing, man. Like as this hardware keeps advancing, it's going to get better and better.
Cool.
So I had a good time, man. The Quest was a very awesome purchase, and like I said, I got it for my daughter. She wants to play some games on it, and I was like, dude, I kind of want one of these for myself. This is pretty badass.
Yeah. I got a hates. Okay. All right. So, obviously, my history with Immortal is controversial a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know why. Why would you say that?
I don't know. But I noticed something. So I posted the podcast from last week, and I did an Immortal video, and within nanoseconds, these videos had 10, 15 downvotes.
Just because it has
Immortal
yeah.
in the fucking title.
Yeah.
It's insane.
There's already haters. I mean, like I get it. There's this one guy that downvotes every video I put up within like less than 3 minutes every single time. It's like down, and it's just one. It just be this one.
Have
dude.
you ever asked Bloodshed to stop?
And no, I mean, listen, Blood. Thought we were friends,
I
man.
know, right? Jeez.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. That's a pretty shitty hates. I don't think
ridiculous.
that's gonna change though.
No,
dude.
it's
I don't
not.
think.
No way.
And like, let's talk about how many times. Like, listen, I got sick of people asking me about you playing Immortal in my stream, so I can't even fucking imagine how much you. I mean, you didn't even read your chat. Do you like? So I came to your chat, by the way.
Yeah.
And we talked about you for like 15 minutes.
I'm
your
way
mods,
too popular a streamer to read chat.
I know you don't even read chat. Your mods literally changed your title of your stream to something about like PChild is better than me. You should go watch him or something. And you didn't even know. You didn't even notice. Like you go look in your title history. They were trolling you because you didn't read your chat for like 15 minutes.
Well, my neck has literally locked itself into a position of looking down at my phone.
Your head. You're like this.
I didn't turn my head. Yeah.
So old man syndrome. But yeah, man, it you know, did the shill stuff get old? Did people like, oh my god, the guy that got Immortal booed is playing Immortal. Oh my god. Did that get old after a while, or did you just
I mean, there was a decent amount of that. I guess I was actually surprised more didn't happen. Like I 100%, I talked to my moms beforehand. I didn't tell them what I was doing, but I was like, you guys, I need you guys tonight because it could get fucking weird real quick.
Yeah.
And it did get weird. I mean, quite a bit. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, it is cringe. Like people like come after me because I don't know. They saw my question and they see me as like an advocate for anti-mobile gaming or something. I don't know like what they think I was doing.
It was the response that got booed.
Yeah.
By the I don't know, man.
It's weird. It's definitely super weird. I think again we talk about this a lot. Is like people think of BlizzCon 2018. They think of red shirt guy, April Fools, and the boo guy, but like that's not the same. Like they weren't the same thing at all. He was being kind of malicious and legitimate troll, and I was like, what the hell is this coming to PC? Like it's just not.
Yeah, you're like, can we please play this on PC? And they're like, no. Well, back then there was a support for Windows. The Windows Store had a lot of mobile apps back in 2018 too. I don't know if they still do it, but there were definitely a lot of Android games that were also being ported to the Windows Store where you could run them as apps, full screen apps in Windows. So it was extremely feasible for them to produce this thing for the Windows Store.
Yeah.
But all right, man, let's get into some questions. If you guys want to submit questions to the podcast, you can tweet them at Lord__Fluffy at ThaPChild, or we each have a Discord section set up where you can ask in there. The first question comes from Raziel. He says, what was your favorite gift for Christmas? Did you get any gifts for Christmas?
I mean, this year, kind of for Christmas and my birthday, I got this whole like new adventure motorcycle suit, which is really nice.
What is an adventure motorcycle suit?
Well, it's just like a fully, like it can be thermal, it's waterproof, it's got the Gore-Tex built in, it's got the armor everywhere, so like you're covered from head to tippy toe if you fall, which I never do. And it's just nice. It's just super, super nice. So
what if you fall and break some bones or something?
Yeah.
Right. And you're over in wherever, Cambodia, wherever you're at.
Yeah.
And you go to the hospital. What's the like? Do you have to pay them in blood? Like, I don't like. What do you got to go through an ATM? They're like, yo, that's $20,000.
Well, I mean, most good insurance will. If you have health
still covers it.
It has international coverage.
They still take Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Depends.
I just wondered, have you ever looked in? Like, I genuinely don't know.
Yeah,
like,
I've looked into it
trolling.
Because some countries I've visited had like clauses where it's like, oh, well, to come here, we need to provide verification that you have like at least $25,000 worth of coverage, blah, blah, like to even get a visa. So as part of that, I've had to look into it in the past, and yeah, my current coverage, I get a decent amount of international chunk. But it doesn't cover stuff like, say say if I was like in the mountains and I like went down on my bike and it like shattered both of my legs or something, and I had to get like a helicopter to get me the hell out of there. Like that's probably all out of pocket.
I mean, I just assume they would helicopter you and you'd get fixed up and go home and then like just not pay them. I don't know, like what are they gonna do?
I don't know.
You know
That's
what
a good
I mean?
question. Yeah.
Like you can't ever go back to, Zimbabwe or wherever you're at.
They hire debt collectors, and I'm like, I can't even understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So I guess, to garnish your wages maybe from another country. I don't know if that's a thing. The next question comes from Demonic Grizz. He says, so I didn't answer that. What was my favorite gift for Christmas? I didn't really, I bought myself my own gifts like a couple weeks ago. I'm going to take this forever. Like, let's back this up. What's the best gift you've ever gotten, or one of them? I remember being super damn excited when I got my original Nintendo. Like I was super little. And when I opened that Nintendo up, man, we had Duck Hunt and Track and Field. Like I got the whole little, I don't know if it always came with it or if that was like a bundle, bigger package deal, but that was the shit, man. I still remember that Christmas. That was pretty hype. Other than that, I'm trying to think. There was the Christmas we got the Super Nintendo was pretty dope too.
That was my first, yeah.
So I got Mario World. Was that Super Mario World? Is that the name of it?
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty hot. Those two stand out to me, man. Those were two really big ones.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Street Fighter. I got Street Fighter on my Super Nintendo. I think then was it the next Christmas? I don't know. I definitely got Street Fighter on one of those Christmases too. Demonic Gris says, if you could take the ultimate vacation, where would you go and who would you take on the trip if money was no problem?
This is something I've always wanted to do.
Okay.
So obviously, I'm a big traveler. It's a huge passion of mine. I would love if I just had an infinite money supply. What do you think about this for a TV show? Okay. So
scared already.
I plan one of my trips, right? Which is intense, adventurous, a lot of things that you have to do that, you get pushed out of your comfort zone, right? Eating, doing adrenaline sports, whatever, right? And then what if on that trip I took just a whole bunch of like, you took nerdy ass fucking gamers.
Yeah, you took somebody like me who isn't adventurous and doesn't want to go bungee jumping.
Yeah, it's twofold for you because you're a gamer that's kind of a nerd, but you're also like don't want to do anything. So
yeah, like I don't want to do shit. I'm just always like, no, I'm cool, man. I'm gonna chill. I'm good. You have fun.
But imagine we had like you and we had like, Quinn and like that, like just just a bunch of fucking nerds, and they're all
a bunch of dudes
out of their element and doing vacation travel stuff. It'd just be kind of funny, I think. So
it'd be interesting. I think I always thought it would be funny to like, for work, I used to have to travel. And so like, I'm super comfortable, like getting on a plane and going wherever and finding taxis and like all that. That's fine. But sometimes I'd have to travel with this lady, and like, I swear, if I wasn't there holding her hand, I don't even know how she would have made it. And she was like 10 to 15 years older than me. So it's like, it's not like she shouldn't have been an adult and been able to do it. But she got lost in the airport. She's like, I'm going to go use the bathroom. And then like 15 minutes later, she wasn't back. And I'm just like, I probably better go find this lady because, who knows, right? So I go looking and I see her like blindly, like you could tell, that nervous look on somebody's face. Like she's kind of looking around and I'm like, hey, over here. And she's like, oh God, thank you. I forgot what terminal we were at. You had all my stuff. I'm like, yeah, I got all your shits on my shoulder right now. Here's your stuff. You know what I mean? And it's just like a thing. So I honestly thought about like, what if I made a TV show called Traveling With and then insert her name? And I was like, what if I made a TV show like that and the camera crew just followed you around while I told you had to get to Italy, or like I told you, and just to watch like if you would even make it. Like the show would be hilarious because I don't think you'd make it. You get your ass lost. But I could see that. That'd be fun.
Yeah. I've traveled with people and it's just like, what do you mean? Like, are they like freak out? Like, how are we going to get to this ball? I'm like, bro, it's like, just relax. Like everything's under control.
I was genuinely nervous. Was it BlizzCon 2018 BlizzCon when we were going back to the airport? We hit that crazy huge traffic jam. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking like, fuck, we're going to miss our flight. And I wasn't nervous about how am I going to get home. I was nervous like I'm going to have to buy another plane ticket because we got like non-refundable cheap as fuck plane tickets, right? And so I'm sitting here thinking, like, dude, that was a crazy traffic. And maybe that's normal in LA. I don't know, but I've flown out of a lot of airports and I haven't seen but I was genuinely nervous. And then we got to the airport and the line was forever.
Yeah.
And then remember that one dumbass left his bag
Mm-hmm.
and his bag was just sitting there. And then somebody's like, whose bag is this?
Right.
And we're like, bitch, shut up. We're like, shut up. You're going to get security. And then so like security starts to come over and then we're like, dude, get your bag or they're going to shut this terminal down.
Mm-hmm.
You fucking idiot. And the guy picks it. Like, it was just this thing. So that was probably one of the most nervous times I've had traveling. And it was just because I'm like, we're going to miss the plane, dude, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you should, yeah. I mean, like, the stuff like that happens every fucking trip. Like, just back, when I was coming back from Costa Rica and the plane was delayed by like 50 minutes. And so I had to run to like, and I checked my phone and it was like, okay, go to C84 in your next place.
All the way across.
Right. Yeah. It's just all the way across the airport. And so on the way back from Costa Rica, I ran there. Like I had to actually run there to make the flight. But when I got there, they had changed it again to be back to where I just came from.
Oh my God.
And so I had to like sprint even faster and I was already like dead. And I like just basically walked into the plane and they took off. But it was like, Jesus Christ.
I've had some bad experiences. BlizzCon 2019, when I was coming home, I was flying Spirit. I'm never going to fly Spirit again, by the way. Fuck
Every
Spirit.
airline has their shitty times.
So, Spirit's so bad, though. They loaded us on the plane and then they let us sit there for like 2 hours. And then they're like, okay, get off the plane. Plane's broken. The system won't reboot or something. And I'm like, this is cool. Got off the plane. They're like, go to this terminal. We all go to the terminal. And then they just make us sit there for a couple hours. And they're like, oh, go back to your original plane. We got it fixed. And we're like, I'm sitting here like, dude, I don't want to get on this plane. It wouldn't even, like, systems wouldn't boot.
Mm-hmm.
We walk back down there and they're like, they get us on the plane and then they start to get us off the plane again. And then they got us off and switched the plane. I'm just like, what is going on, dude? It was a cluster. I think you actually called me during that. I'm sitting at the airport. Yeah. And he called me on Discord. I'm just like, yo, what's up? You're like, what are you doing? I'm like, just sitting in the airport, chilling. So, yeah, I don't know. A traveling show would be fun. For me, vacation, I like to have some activities to do. Like, I want to go see cool things. Like, I really, this is one of the things that I didn't get to do on my honeymoon. We went on a cruise to the Bahamas, and they have a bunch of Mayan temples or some kind of temples down there. I think it was Mayan temples. And I didn't get to do any of the tours to see the temples, but I think that would be really badass to go do and see. I like seeing things like that. But at the same time, I like downtime. I like to just chill.
You would hate traveling with me, dude.
I know. I like to have a day of just chill and then like a day of do stuff and like a day of chill and a day of do stuff.
I like, you know, go. No downtime. Yeah. Keep going.
You and my wife, man. She's the same way. She's constantly like, I got a plan. Like, this is what we're gonna do. And I'm just like, fuck. Like, okay, crafts me off this day. You can go do that, and I'm just gonna chill on the pool. You know what I mean? So, have fun. Roasted to Perfection says, "What is a must-have feature in your dream home?"
Ooh.
My brother has this in his house. I think it's pretty cool. He has a centralized vacuum system. I don't know if it's a must-have, but dude, it would be super dope. Have you seen
that since like 1980?
I know, but my house doesn't have it. I would like to have it. Does your house have it?
No, I could have gotten it, but I was like, why?
Because you just like brush stuff up to the thing and stick it in. You're done, man.
Or you just have like a wireless Dyson.
Yeah, I also have to have my house. If it's my dream home, it's going to be wired at least with Cat 6 or some kind of fiber optic throughout. And it's just like, because my house now didn't have that, and I had to run networking cable through my entire house, and it's like I'm drilling holes and shit, and like ripping off baseboards trying to hide the wire, and it sucked, dude. It super sucked.
Yeah, you know, if you asked me a few weeks ago, I've been like, oh, well, the whole house wired for fiber, but now I've got it, so I guess I have to rethink my dreams.
I'm done with this podcast. Dude, oh my God, I had Charter out at my house this weekend, dude. Spectrum, I had them out. I was like, listen, boys, I started getting packet loss in my streams again. It's just like random for like a minute or two. It would just completely drop out for a minute or two, and they would come back and it'd be fine for the rest of the 58 minutes, but then it would do it again. And so like when you try to call them and explain this, they're just like, oh, I don't know what to tell you. Like literally the guy came out and he's like, I don't know your numbers. I'm like, I'm speed testing, right, for him on my equipment, and it's like 250 megs short of what it's supposed to be. I'm paying for a gig service, which is actually $940. I'm getting like 700. And I'm like, that's 250 meg. Like, where's that at? It was there last week. Now it's gone. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. Let me hook my meter up and check. So he hooks his meter up, same exact thing. I'm like, there you go. Boom. Not my equipment. Told you. He's like, yeah, I don't really know what to do though, man. Your numbers look fine. You don't have any interference. Everything looks good. So just call back tomorrow. I'm like, what?
No.
You're here right now. You call somebody right now. Like, call somebody above you. Like,
Weird.
let's get this shit figured out, dude. And he literally was like, just call back tomorrow. He's like, they're going to give you a reticket, which will automatically get a supervisor. I'm just like, really, dude? Okay. I'm like, fine.
Thanks.
Get out of my hair. Get out of my house.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, so I gotta pick one still. Jerk.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, honestly, I kind of like my setup now. I guess, like, if anything, if I could redo like my house, I maybe would have, like, I don't know, taken a room that was like on its own floor, or I don't know. I guess maybe a more temperature controlled space would be great, I guess.
Oh, for your stream setup?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good
proper server rack. I've made my like closet into like a pretty decent server room, but
the problem is you got to cool that bitch. That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's got like intake and outtake, but yeah, it's not great.
It's crazy. Yeah. That would be my ideal house. Would have I would get to design my dedicated stream room, and I would obviously have a really large room. The bigger the room, the more air you have to circulate and control the temperature, and a dedicated AC. I have a dedicated AC for in here, and it's cool. But the problem is I have to run it like 24/7 because it's like right now it's what is it? It's 38 degrees outside right now.
Yeah.
And so like the house has heat on. So I literally took the vent for the heat and stuffed towels in it to block it off so no heat comes in this room.
Wow.
And then I have to run the AC because the rooms, it's only like a 10 by 11.
Even when it's 30 degrees outside, you gotta run AC.
It's 30. Yeah, like right now, like I don't even have PCs running. I turned the air conditioner off for the podcast to get better audio. When I started, it was 62 degrees in this room, and now it's 79. Like I have a thermostat.
What the fuck?
I literally keep a thermostat on my desk, and it's 78.4 degrees. Like it's gone up 15 degrees.
What the hell makes it so hot?
It's just a small room, and there's no circulation of air. Like when I stuff the vents up, there's no return air in this room. Like the house is designed really stupid. Like, so my house has like big return air ducts in like the central living room and like hallways and stuff. But each individual, like this specific room doesn't have a return air duct. And so when you I clog the door, the door is all like insulated to keep sound out, and it just gets hot. So that's why I have my own unit for this room. But if I turn it on, it's fine. But I have to run it 24/7. So I would address that. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I would definitely, I would get my equipment outside, like, a server rack in a different room would be amazing that I don't really have to care about. So plus noise too. Let's see. Hex says, what was the best season of Diablo 3? What was the first season? Double Goblins?
First like seasonal theme?
Yeah.
Yeah. Double Goblins.
That was the first seasonal theme. The best season was season 1, probably.
I mean, yeah, I think back when they added new items, I don't actually know. I don't know. See, Rourke, maybe?
Season of Rourke?
I'm trying to think of changes that weren't like, wow, everyone can just instantly do 150.
That was a good season because we had the barbs. We had the new barb meta, and so it just felt fun to play that season. It's not a bad one. I don't know. There was a season that was really short. Was it season 2? Season 4?
There's ones too.
But whatever season that was, I remember that being like one of the worst seasons for me because I remember grinding. I was grinding pretty hard that season, and then they announced the season end date, and I'm like, it totally killed any motivation I had to play. I remember being like, well, that sucks. Then I just didn't want it to end that soon. No, I would say some of the I had a really fun time in the earlier seasons. Diablo, and I think just because it was new. Like when they announced seasons in Diablo 3, I was like, this is stupid. Why the F would I ever want to give up all my progress? This is the dumbest thing ever. I'm not going to play this. And little did I know, like this is an example, like we were talking about earlier. What things did I think would be good or bad for the game? I thought seasons were going to be absolutely horrible for Diablo. And I'm like, why would I want to lose all my I worked so hard to get this gear set. Like, why would I want to give it up?
Right.
But it's the best thing ever, you know? So,
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'll say early seasons 1, 2, 3 were probably really fun for me. I think season 3, I played Crusader a lot, and that was a hammered in build season. And it was fun. I had a good time.
God, I can just like, I can remember the feeling of playing ROS the first time and just being so fucking addicted.
I thought the campaign was short, didn't you? Like to me,
I was happy
like, okay,
the campaign was short.
But I expected it to be like, I don't know. I think I expected a lot out of the campaign. I remember like, okay, I'm ready. Let's do this. And, you know, it drops and I'd log in and I played it, and then it was like an hour or something. And I'm like through it. And I'm like, that was it? Like, okay, that's cool. All right, let's do it. And then, you know, you start hitting the end game. But I really remember thinking like, damn, that was the whole campaign. I can't believe it's over that fast.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man. And then when seasons hit, it was like, it blew my mind how fun it was. I was like, I totally hated it, the concept. I was like, I can't believe, why would I do this? I'm just doing it to get the cosmetics. That's it. That's the only reason I'm doing it. Fuck this. This is stupid. And then I played it. I was like, this is amazing. So I loved it, man. I don't think I've played non-season since. Ever since it dropped, I don't think I've touched a non-season account. The last question we had for the day comes from Zip Kuntos. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. He says, how was it? He says, seeing that you guys both have birthdays, what was it like living in the 90s compared to today? He's basically calling us old.
Sam, what was the question?
Well, how was it like? I think it's misworded slightly, but it says, what was it like living in the 90s compared to today?
So different.
We grew up as 90s kids.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember the 80s too. But yeah, like so different.
Saved by the Bell. Taco Bell had like the neonish palette.
What's wild? I guess you've probably described this a lot to your kids, right? Like describing a world where like all the answers weren't at your fingertips. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
like
weird.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Like I don't know this. Man. Let me Google it. Like that didn't exist.
It's a thing. Like that's such a rabbit hole for me now. Like my brain never shuts off. Like I'm laying in bed trying to go to sleep, and like I'm constantly thinking of like, oh man, what's this? And then I fucking pull my phone out and I Google shit, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And and then I'll be sitting there and like a commercial comes on, and I'm like, oh man, I wonder how old that actress is. And I'll like look her age up, and you're just like, fuck. And then you're like, then you'll see them in a movie with so and so. I'm like, oh, how old is this guy? Damn, I wonder how much money this dude's worth. And then like you start looking up just like dumb shit all the time, and I'm constantly just like, how do I do this in GTA or like, you know, whatever. It's just this constant rabbit hole. It's insane. Yeah, I mean that's why we had subscriptions to Nintendo Power, right? Did you have a Nintendo Power subscription? You didn't? Damn, dude. What did you do? How'd you get the juice?
I just figured it out.
No, I'm saying like, how did you like? Nintendo Power was my shit as a kid. Like that was something.
I always if we went out, I would always like if there was a Nintendo Power episode or a magazine or something, I would be like, oh yes, I can go read this while like my family does.
While
whatever.
you're waiting in line, yeah.
But
yeah, that was like where you read the new things, and they trolled it. There's an April edition or a March edition, I don't remember, but they put a troll in there where if you were playing, I think it was to play as Simon Belmont on Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, and you had to like reset your Nintendo 5 times and press the power button and then like it was this stupid thing like rule to get like Simon to appear, and they faked the screenshot on there. And I'm a kid, man. I'm like, 8, 9 years old. And I'm like, I'm at home, like resetting my Nintendo like 5 fucking times and like ejecting the game and doing whatever, and it doesn't work. And then next week they're like, oh, April Fool's joke, by the way. I'm like, you guys probably broke my Nintendo, man. I reset it so much trying to get that to work, dude.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, I guess that's the biggest thing. Like I had a CD player growing up. I had a Walkman, a tape player, and then I remember getting my CD player, my first CD player. And you just rock the same music 24/7. Like I listened to Pearl Jam, the album that had Jeremy on it, whatever album that was, Versus 10, whatever, like a billion times. Because it was like, I had like 4 CDs, right?
Yeah.
So
I was so late to everything in the gaming world. Like, you and I are a year apart, and I never got to experience like Atari or Nintendo. Like I didn't even get into it until Super Nintendo. I didn't have a computer until I was like 18, and computers were a thing for gaming for us, probably like what, 13, 14? I don't even know.
I don't think I got my first computer until I built my first computer when I was like a junior in high school. So for me, it was the same because, I grew up super poor.
So who did
like,
you know that you could play like Doom at their house or something?
Oh yeah, I had a friend. I had a buddy that had it. And
Yeah.
I remember like watching him install it. And I was just like so impressed. I'm like, oh, you know how to do this? You know what I mean? I'm just like, oh my God, you got to put these discs in. Crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
So we were like throwing floppies in, right?
Yep.
To play it. But yeah, man, it was a thing. Like, and I think hitting bumps on the bus. Like, so I had a Sony Discman that I would like listen to my 4 CD collection. And like you're riding on a school bus. School buses were bumpy as hell if you remember. And you hit those bumps and like your Discman would skip and you'd be like, son of a bitch. You're just like, just jump over.
I remember like we had to install that shit, right? Like we had those in our cars. We had the little CD players like mounted on the dash that went into those like cassette, cassette player adapter.
That's just if you're poor, Fluff. Like people with money who just bought a CD player for their car. But us poor folk, we had the tape adapters,
Yeah, dude. So. And then eventually the CD player,
yeah, you'd see a bump come in and you'd like pick it up and hold it because you knew you were gonna skip.
Eventually the CD player got that like the bump resistance,
10-second anti-skip. Yeah, the 10-second scan ahead, dude. Yeah, hell yeah, man. So I don't know. It was different though. Like you didn't like did you do this when you were 16, 17? Like we would go out on Friday nights and like I would have like a buddy or two and I'm like, hey, you'd call them on the phone and they had to be at home and answer the phone.
Yeah.
And then you would go to their house. Like you couldn't just fucking get a hold of them. Hey, where are you at? Like they more than likely didn't answer the phone.
Right.
And then I would just go drive around and you would just look for people. I would get in my car and there was a loop. Like there was this circle that we would make. And like you would go past the hot spots. You'd go past the park. You'd go past, the school. There was spots that you would drive past. And usually there was and if nobody was there, you would stop. You would just stop at the park, stop at the gazebo, whatever, and get out and you'd chill for like 15, 20 minutes and somebody would drive by and they'd be like, yo, what's up? And they'd come over. And before you knew it, you had like a little gathering. That's how we would,
wasn't that social? Out. I didn't leave the house that much.
Oh yeah. You didn't have friends.
Just like now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
I had friends until I started streaming and then it was just like
same. I had,
you know, you just stop hanging out because they're always like, hey, you want to hang out Friday night? You're like, yeah, I'm streaming.
Right.
And eventually they just stop
inviting you stuff because you're like,
he's not gonna come.
Right.
Yeah, he's just streaming.
Yep.
That's it, man. That's all the questions that we had. If you guys wanted to submit questions to the podcast, at Lord Fluffy, at Lord __ Fluffy, at ThaPChild. Our Discords are also good places.
The best places.
The best.
You stopped posting those like pre-pods so people could post them there.
Yeah, I need to get on it. I'm just slacking. You can always
for like a year.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll throw them up, but yeah, I'll start trying to throw those out so people can. You know what? Most of the questions come from Discord.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Discord is the best place, but yeah.
Yeah, I usually don't get responses on the Twitter. I get them in the Discord. So
yeah.
Sometimes people send me DMs too. So if I don't, sometimes the DMs are filtered as like somebody's trying to message you, but it doesn't ping Twitter until I check it. So make sure that if I don't see those, the Discord is obviously.
Let me ask you a question real quick. How do you deal? So I get a lot of DMs. Just like asking questions about my builds or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I try to as friendly as possible because I do want to help these people, right? Friendly as possible. I'm like, oh, like go to the Discord, ask in the Diablo channel because if I can't get to your question, at least someone in my Discord will.
Yeah, right.
But they're always like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I was like, I don't say it to like be mean or anything like that. It's just
I think it's the same. Like, so for like I get a lot of YouTube comments too, I feel like, and so I always try to reply to them, but sometimes it's just like it's the thing where I'm like, man, I hope somebody else gets to them, and then I'll get to it later, because sometimes I'll be somewhere where I can't sit down. I'm on my cell and I can't type out like an entire 3 paragraphs to answer. Like this guy's like, I don't know how to get Kanai's cube. Well, you're on your cell phone. You just act 3. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't help the guy. You know what I'm saying? And so it's hopefully somebody gets it, but it's kind of the same, man. I think my Discord does a really good job too of answering people's questions. And then if I see an answer that's like I don't agree with, then I'll be like, yo, I would actually do this. You know what I mean? Or whatever. But I'm with you. It's kind of hard to
Right.
to reply to everybody. I try as much as I can, you know.
Same.
But it's just one of those things, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're gonna do. I think Discord's a great place though, because my community seems pretty helpful. And like I said, if you see an answer that I'm like, no, I don't think that's right, then it's a lot easier to go in and be like, oh, I would do this instead. So, but yeah, get at us on the Twitters, on the Discords, and we'll catch you guys next week for episode 128.
Yeah. Peace out, dudes.
See you.